Pay attention, because what just happened when the United States absolutely demolished New Zealand wasn't your typical international basketball matchup. This was a calculated corporate execution happening in front of a worldwide audience. We're looking at 101 to 46. Let that number sit with you for a second. A 55-point blowout isn't just domination, it's a message sent straight to every basketball federation across the globe and everyone pulling strings in women's professional basketball. The polished media coverage will frame this as outstanding teamwork or exceptional play, but anyone who understands power dynamics, market control, and institutional leverage knows exactly what they witnessed: a complete system takeover at the highest level. This wasn't competition, this was market elimination executed on the biggest stage imaginable.
This is New Zealand, finally in the starting lineup. It took long enough. It took long enough. Stephanie White, I know your skin was crawling when you saw her in the starting lineup. I know you didn't like that. Caitlin Clark led Team USA.
For months now, the established powers controlling Team USA and the entire WNBA structure have been playing desperate defense. They've been scrambling to preserve their traditional power structure against an unstoppable force that's completely reshaping everything. Every bureaucratic maneuver possible has been deployed to keep the sport's biggest phenomenon operating under careful restrictions. But that dam just exploded completely. The old system couldn't justify their obvious mismanagement any longer, and they had no choice but to finally give complete control to the most valuable sports property on the planet.
That second group, they absolutely, like, that second group went off. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Chelsea Gray still starting. I don't know why. Chelsea Gray does not need to be a starter. It is.
The moment Caitlin Clark's name appeared on that starting lineup, the entire landscape of international basketball changed forever. You want to understand what happens when you take someone who's already flipped television ratings and sponsorship deals upside down? Then you put her alongside the most dangerous collection of elite athletes in the world? You get a 101-point offensive explosion that makes opposing teams question why they even showed up. Clark walked onto that court like a CEO taking control of a failing corporation. 23 minutes of complete floor command, 14 points and 6 assists that completely shredded their defensive game plan. But those basic stats don't capture the real damage she inflicted during those 23 minutes. She didn't just put up numbers, she systematically destroyed their mental toughness. She warped their entire defensive strategy around stopping her, which created massive openings for her teammates to operate freely.
She do it all. She literally, Caitlin Clark has added to her bag. I don't know if y'all know, Caitlin Clark has added to her bag. It's about to get spooky. It's about to get so spooky for these WNBA teams.
Now let's discuss the absolute merger happening in that backcourt. The chemistry between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers isn't just entertaining basketball, it's a monopoly designed to eliminate international competition permanently. Bueckers played a team leading 24 minutes of pure excellence, perfectly combining her lightning processing with Clark's explosive creativity. When you put two basketball geniuses like that together simultaneously, it stops being fair competition, it becomes market manipulation. They're creating wealth, delivering massive returns for the national program, and making this incredibly difficult sport look ridiculously simple. Bueckers' 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists represent just the paperwork from a performance where she basically served as Clark's chief operations officer. Every single play executed with maximum efficiency.
The passes are gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? This is why they need to start her. Forget all that seniority stuff and all that. This is the best point guard in the world. Why are we starting anybody else? It doesn't even make sense.
The real genius of this 55-point massacre comes from the brutal comparison between the unstoppable future and the crumbling past. The old establishment is absolutely panicked about what Caitlin Clark represents because her undeniable efficiency exposes how outdated their system has become. We need to have an uncomfortable conversation about veteran status in elite athletics. Seniority becomes a toxic business practice designed to protect former stars who can't justify their value through current performance anymore. Chelsea Gray built an incredible legacy as a championship point guard with serious credentials, but today's hyper-speed game that Caitlin Clark has created doesn't forgive players who've lost their quickness and explosion. The transaction speed has become too intense for older systems to handle effectively. Starting players based on past achievements instead of current ability guarantees disaster in high-pressure international situations. The visual difference was impossible to ignore when Clark controlled the offense. Basketball moved like high-frequency trading, instantly finding weaknesses and exploiting them in milliseconds. When veteran guards ran the show, everything slowed into predictable isolation plays that created zero advantages. The market has moved forward, the paradigm has shifted, and leadership needs to accept that new decision makers have taken their positions. If you thought Caitlin Clark was only dangerous launching from 30 feet out, you're missing the calculated improvements she's been making while everyone else was distracted. She's now added a lethal mid-range attack to her already overwhelming offensive arsenal. She's attacking pick and rolls, stopping instantly with perfect deceleration, and hitting unstoppable pull-up jumpers that destroy drop coverage completely. This creates absolute nightmares for every defensive coordinator in professional basketball. When someone who already demands panic-level attention at 35 feet proves she can surgically attack from 15 feet, she transforms from superstar into completely unguardable. She's eliminated the last theoretical defensive strategy teams hoped might slow her down. This gets much bigger than regular season victories. This connects directly to upcoming collective bargaining negotiations. Players are fighting for unprecedented television revenue shares, and Caitlin Clark represents the billion-dollar weapon that will smash through ownership resistance. When she negotiates her next contract, the entire financial structure of women's sports changes permanently, and she's using these international showcases as public demonstrations of her absolute market dominance. She's proving to corporations and networks that she owns the viewership economy. Every time she pulls up from deep, she's negotiating her next massive contract in real time. The complete annihilation of New Zealand wasn't just individual brilliance though. This was comprehensive institutional domination that shocked the global basketball community. Let's examine the second unit, the bench squad that entered the game and poured gasoline on an already raging fire. When opponents are already struggling against the starting lineup's surgical precision, the last thing they want is Ryan Howard entering with cold-blooded determination. Howard didn't just contribute, she executed a shooting clinic that bordered on international cruelty. Team-high 18 points while shooting the cover off the basketball. She operated like a trained assassin, ruthlessly punishing every tiny defensive mistake New Zealand made. 6 of 10 from three-point range equals 60% efficiency on volume shooting. That's not just elite performance, that's systematic destruction of opponent confidence. Operating alongside that perimeter firepower was Angel Reese's relentless interior dominance. Reese played 17 productive minutes, completely controlling the paint, 9 points and 4 rebounds, while physically breaking down their front court until they surrendered inside and accepted defeat. Combine that with Monique Billings going 5 for 7 for 10 points and 6 rebounds, plus Kiki Iriafan shooting 66% for 9 points and 8 rebounds, and you're witnessing absolute market monopoly. This represents unbreakable market share in athletic form. Team USA didn't casually defeat New Zealand, they systematically denied them the right to compete on the same level. Limiting an international professional team to 46 total points across 4 quarters represents defensive mastery built on physical intimidation, overwhelming athletic superiority, and flawless positioning. It's psychological warfare designed to make opponents question why they bothered showing up. It's the sporting equivalent of completely eliminating competition by destroying their resources and ensuring nothing can grow back. Everything inevitably circles back to the primary catalyst, the main engine driving this entire operation. Forget internal politics. Forget carefully crafted public relations statements from executives protecting their positions. Forget the fragile egos of veteran players watching their relevance disappear before their eyes. Caitlin Clark is the absolute best point guard in the world right now, and continued institutional refusal to acknowledge that mathematically proven reality represents complete organizational delusion. She's seamlessly leading this team, distributing offensive opportunities, and keeping everyone engaged by delivering perfect passes that create easy highlight finishes. When you possess an asset this historically powerful, someone who completely transforms the financial and competitive reality of the sport, you don't limit the engine to protect older models feeling better about their declining status. You remove all restrictions, take control away from the establishment, give her unrestricted access to the franchise, and let her completely obliterate competition without mercy or hesitation. The New Zealand game wasn't basketball. It was an official warning shot fired at every basketball federation on Earth. The long-anticipated power transition is no longer theoretical discussion, it's brutal, undeniable reality. The rest of the world, and more importantly, every professional franchise, has been officially notified by the new leadership. The polite grow the game era of women's basketball is completely finished. We've entered the era of hostile takeovers, hyper-optimized efficiency, where television ratings, corporate sponsorships, and ruthless production determine engagement terms. Caitlin Clark has weaponized her entire skill set, eliminated her perceived weaknesses, and surrounded herself with elite partners like Paige Buchers, Ryan Howard, and Angel Reese. She's targeting every broadcast dollar, every championship trophy, and every piece of institutional power available in global sports markets. The 101-46 destruction of New Zealand wasn't statistical anomaly. It established the new baseline. It represents minimum execution standards for a national team that's finally realized its true potential under generational leadership. The old guard has exactly 2 remaining options: step aside gracefully, collect legacy benefits, and watch the revolution from luxury seating, or stubbornly resist and get completely run over by unstoppable progress. No middle ground exists. No room for compromise, shared power, or participation awards. Only ruthless, beautiful reality of elite sports economics remains. Right now, at this moment, Caitlin Clark owns the entire global operation. The upcoming season is loading rapidly. The most valuable player campaign has already begun aggressively, and the absolute destruction we're about to witness over the next decade will be studied in business schools for 50 years as the perfect blueprint for market takeover. Welcome to the new world order of professional basketball. Welcome to the era of absolute power. Don't blink, don't look away for 1 second, because this takeover is just beginning and the weak will be permanently eliminated and left behind completely.